Hey everybody,
Hello, world of tomorrow.
welcome to Super Breakfast Friends Club, a show that we do on the internet with our voices.
I got nothing to top that. That's exactly what we do. You nailed it in one.
We talk about video games, which you probably already figured out if you clicked on this, because the episode is called Donkey Kong Country Part 2.
Took a sip of water and immediately choked on it, because I'm a professional. And this time you get the uncensored version, the rasping cough. Remember that time I had COVID?
I do remember that. It's been a while. Play the opening.
It's still just as funky as ever.
It is. I like this song.
I hate that I like it, but I do.
Same way I felt about the Sonic Underground theme.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I like that one as much, though.
It's hard to say. I'm gonna have to, at some point we should do a ranking. Maybe that's something we can do for the Patreon.
Ranking theme songs.
Ranking the theme songs of the shows we've watched. Carmen
Pac-Man
Sandiego will be up there. Huh? Pac-Man number 1.
With that horrible droning noise.
You have to take this seriously, Mel.
I don't take anything in my life seriously. Why should I start now?
That's true. So, I did miss this theme song. With some of the other things we've had to listen to lately.
It's a good theme song.
It is a good theme song.
It's the best part about the show.
Did I tell you I got a copyright claim for this theme song?
You did not.
Yeah, for the first episode we did about Donkey Kong Country, I got a copyright claim for the theme song, but it wasn't for anybody who actually owns the theme song.
Oh, of course not. Just take the money where you can get it.
Yeah, it was I think it was either from a Middle Eastern country or from Russia, I forget. No, it was from Greece, that's what it was. It was a company in Greece claiming it on the grounds that it was an instance of a karaoke version of this song that they had published.
Oh my god.
So I that's one of the few claims that I disputed, and I was like, you don't own this song. And they dropped it, of course.
It's a Boing Kid situation all over again.
Yeah, pretty much. Except, well, it's more like it's a Boing Kid situation if Boing Kid... I'm going to have to explain the Boing Kid situation now, aren't I?
You don't have to.
So, there's a guy he's from like Iraq or Iran or something, and he created a character called Boing Kid, who is a spring with a suction cup attached to his feet and a clown face. And he has decided that the character Belle the Tinker from IDW's Sonic the Hedgehog comics is an instance of his character Boing Kid. They share one trait, and that is a clown nose. And beyond that, I think they both have freckles. I think that's it.
Freckles are copyright to Boing Kid. Didn't you get the memo?
I didn't see that memo. What's funny is that Belle looks less like Boing Kid than Boing Kid looks like Disney's Pinocchio.
Don't give him ideas. He'll come for Pinocchio next.
Well, no, I want Pinocchio to come for him. But the thing is, then I'd still defend him because he doesn't look that much like Pinocchio. He just looks more like Pinocchio than he looks like Belle. Anyway, let's get back to talking about Donkey Kong, shall we?
I guess. The whole time I was watching this episode, I felt a strange familiarity. Like it was haunting my subconscious. Like I'd seen this episode before.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you think you have?
I don't think I've seen the episode in full, but I don't know if you remember when we first discovered this show existed like 10 years ago. You kept sending me links to the songs from it.
Oh.
And I think they're just burned in my memory and they've been awakened.
So was it specifically the songs you recognized?
Yes.
Okay. I think I recognize one of the songs from this episode. Mostly I know the song that always comes back to haunt me is the one where DK's brain has been put in a robot body. Because it's like a weird body horror song.
I don't think I know that one.
I've definitely sent it to you at some point.
Well, if I hear it again, if we ever get to that episode, maybe it'll awaken like a primal demon in my memory.
Maybe. I mean, we're not covering every episode. We've actually skipped a few to get to this one.
You say that now, patrons.
Yeah, I guess. If you give enough money, you can request any episode you want for us to go look at. Even if nothing important happens. But the reason...
Especially if nothing important happens.
In fact, I would say the only point in requesting an episode is if nothing important happens, because otherwise we'll probably cover it anyway. But the important thing here, although you may be mistakenly thinking that nothing important happened in this episode, this episode introduces Dixie Kong. Introduces is a strong word.
It sure is. She's there.
She makes her first appearance.
She debuts to society.
Yes, or at least to television. Since we'd already had Dixie for a few years by this point everywhere else in video games.
Yeah, but we had a Dixie that was fun and likable, and they wanted to change that.
Okay. This episode is called Kong for a Day.
It sure is.
Bit of a weird title since they are all Kongs, but okay.
Yeah. I was trying to debate that, but no, they're literally all Kongs.
Every single one of them. Like, that would be a good way to work Kong into it, right? If that's the title. He's Donkey Kong, and Kong is like their word for king. But it doesn't work because every single character is something Kong. Except for the villains.
Well, then everything is status quo, and nothing happens in this episode.
This episode is written by Nadine Vandervelde, who also wrote for Nancy Drew, Roly Poly Ollie, and she has some acting credits.
What has she done?
She had a recurring role in Days of Our Lives in 1983.
Ooh.
She's apparently best known as April Brown in Critters. Have you seen Critters?
I don't think I have, no.
No, I haven't either, so I couldn't tell you who that is. But that's, for anyone who has seen Critters, that's what she's best known for.
Is that like the knockoff Gremlins?
I think it was, yeah.
I recognize that face, but I've never seen the movie.
Yeah, I didn't know there were like 5 of them.
I expect that with every horror franchise,
Yeah,
to
I
be
guess
quite
so.
honest.
When Killjoy has 5 movies, then everyone's gonna...
Oh, Mike, when are we doing our Killjoy marathon?
Whenever you want.
We gotta find them.
Oh, I'm sure we can.
I think I did.
I was just gonna say, didn't you? Weren't they on that like free streaming service you were using?
Yeah, a bunch of them were.
Sounds like we've got our weekend planned.
Now, do we? We have to watch the first one. We haven't officially watched it. We've
Yeah, of
only watched it
course.
through someone else watching it.
Yeah, we got to see the stuff that Ian didn't think was good enough for us to hear about.
Quite frankly, it sounds like the whole movie was good enough for us to hear about.
Yes, we'll do it. We'll watch the whole thing. This episode first aired September 18th, 1996 in France. and September 20th, 1998 in America.
Oh.
2 whole
They really-
years.
Yeah. Like, America's not quite ready for this one. We need her to cool down.
Yeah. So let's just get into it, I guess, shall we? There's not much preamble to talk about here since we covered it all last time we looked at this show.
What a coincidence. There's not much preamble to this episode starting.
No, the Kongs are just dancing.
It's so weird.
It just opens with it's like Funky and Diddy, right? Just dancing.
Funky Diddy and Bluster of all people.
Oh, that's right. I always forget he exists. My brain tries to block him out unless he's talking.
I can't. I was very impressed that I even remembered his name, and it's because he's burned forever in my memory.
I'm really impressed that you remembered it.
Thank you.
What really struck me immediately is the fact that King K. Rool and Clump are just sitting here with some umbrella drinks, watching the Kongs dance.
Because by this point, we have no idea what's going on. We just know that their greatest villains are sitting at a tiki bar.
Watching them dance inside the tiki bar.
Right.
Because it's a like a big bar. It's so weird to try and pass what this is, because it's clearly a bar, but there's no bartending equipment inside it. There's no drinks or anything. The inside of the bar is just a too large open space where the Kongs are dancing.
Yeah, it's an encased dance floor, and then you just bring your drinks that you got somewhere else to the bar.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, and the Kremlings are sitting on the outside of the bar, looking in. Yeah, it's strange. I can't pass. I can't. It's. I need to reset my brain from thinking about it. Hold on a second.
I know.
Anyway, we learn that it is Kongo Bongo's annual ceasefire, which
For some reason.
I just find the concept of that hilarious.
I know.
Because a ceasefire, you would think. A ceasefire is usually something that happens when negotiations or something are happening, right? In real life.
Yeah, but here I guess it's just to maintain the peace. It's like a purge day.
It's an annual planned event, which means that this war has been going on for many years and they have no plans for it to stop.
No.
They're not using their ceasefire day to negotiate or, stop the fighting in any way.
They're using it to party.
Yeah.
Well, the Kongs are, as it turns out. Our boy K. Rool is using it to scheme.
That's right, because I was thinking we don't learn this yet. We don't learn this for a little bit, but I was thinking for the whole beginning of this episode, like, why did K. Rool agree to this ceasefire?
Yes!
He seems to hate it.
They aren't enjoying themselves at all.
And the way Cranky words it, because Cranky comes over to taunt him, and the way Cranky words it, it sounds like the ceasefire is forced upon him rather than a mutual agreement.
The best part about this day of peace is knowing how hard it is for you to squelch yourself, Karul.
And I'm like, if you can force a ceasefire on him, why...
Why don't you just force him to stop?
Yeah. Why is there ever any fighting if you can force a ceasefire upon him?
Why is he still on this island if all they're doing is fighting all the time? Get somebody to kick him off.
It's funny because in the games, in the show, you're right, King K. Rool seems to live on the island with them. In the games, he does not. He has his own island elsewhere. And he just comes and invades every now and then.
When he gets bored.
But he's from Crocodile Isle, which is a nearby crocodile-shaped island. And then in Donkey Kong 64, they convert Crocodile Isle into a ship and he sails it over.
He could just bring his whole house over to wreck up the place.
Yeah. So Cranky wants Donkey Kong to make a speech, but Donkey Kong's mouth is too full of banana.
Because that's what Donkey Kong do. He eat banana.
He says something. But I couldn't.
He says something, and Diddy puts words in his mouth.
That's what happens, exactly, yeah. And then Bluster, I guess, is being jealous of DK because even though he's a bumbling fool, everybody, worships him because he's the next ruler of the island. And Diddy makes fun of Bluster for being jealous, and then Bluster turns around and points out that Diddy's the only Kong on the island who has no future.
I loved that part, because first of all, that is a wicked, nasty cut.
It sure is.
Diddy immediately freaks out about it.
He loses his goddamn mind.
He throws his hat on the ground. He stomps on it like this is an insecurity that has been festering for years.
And his voice immediately goes to 11 and he's screaming.
You're the only baboon without a future in front of your name.
I do have a future. I do.
It's kind of hilarious.
I loved it. It was incredible. It was especially incredible how immediately after Funky saunters over and tells him, I got no future either, but do I look bummed?
Which is funny because he owns an airline.
Yeah, that is kind of the opposite of what he just said.
The proprietor of Funky's Flights comes over and is like, don't worry, I got nothing to my name counting all this money.
I got no assets, no career. You want to go for a ride in my jet?
But yeah, as the Kongs just kind of continue with their ceasefire fun of taunting each other and dancing, K-Rool reveals to Clump that he's only pretending to participate in the ceasefire.
He says this very loudly, right next to all the Kongs.
Yes, and he hadn't told Clump before they came.
So Clump's just thinking that they're going for some fruity drinks.
Yeah, Clump is part of this plan, but he's been letting on none of it. And now it's being sprung on him almost as much as it's being sprung on the Kongs. So K-Rool enacts his master plan, which is to throw a banana peel in front of Candy as she approaches.
This scene, I could not handle it.
Doesn't this scene prove everything that we said about this toxic relationship in the last episode?
She is one of the most toxic people I have ever encountered in media.
For real. She falls over on a banana peel that she didn't notice on the ground and immediately blames Donkey Kong for this.
Yeah, it's his banana peel, clearly, because he's the only person that eats bananas.
On this banana-themed island.
Right! She storms off and says, never call me again.
Yes, I wrote down exactly what she said.
Our date's off. Don't call me, don't drop by, ever.
All because she slipped on a banana peel.
Yeah, she didn't even seem to hurt herself very much. And she has no evidence that it was his fault. I mean, clearly it wasn't his fault. If she did slip on a banana peel that he left there, it's her fault for not looking where she was going.
Yeah, but it's especially not his fault because you can practically watch King K. Rool do it from off screen.
Not even from off screen. He leans into frame. Yeah,
it's
get
like
out.
When you're driving behind someone in Mario Kart and they just put a banana out and you drive right into it.
Yeah.
Whose fault is it?
When they've got the remember, it doesn't happen anymore, I don't think. I think they spin around you in a circle. But remember in Mario Kart 64, the bananas would be a long tail behind your car?
Oh yeah, you trail those bananas forever.
Yeah.
That saves you from shells. That shit saves you from people riding your bumper.
Yeah, and you used to get 5 of them. Now you only get 3.
Ridiculous. The banana economy.
I know. Well, they're all coming from the Kongo Bongo here.
DK's eating them all.
So K-Rool reveals, again, a further reveal, that his plan is to make everybody mad at DK so that DK won't be made king. I don't think that's how royal succession works.
I am very confused about how the succession of this island works because later in the episode, Cranky implies he was the one that put Diddy's face in the crystal coconut.
Oh, right. Well, we'll get to that when we get to it because that's going to be a nonsense sentence to anyone who hasn't seen this episode.
And to any who have.
To many who have, yeah. I sure didn't understand it.
It's wild.
K. Rool goes to find DK, who's sulking on a pier. And this scene was, like, really sweet.
He was so nice to him.
Sure was. He goes and has a heart-to-heart with DK about DK feeling sad because his girlfriend's broken up with him again for the first time today. This is all we've seen of their relationship, is her dumping him.
Yeah.
This is the second episode, and it's the only thing that's ever happened in their relationship.
And it's never over anything that DK has actually done.
No. It's always over something someone else did. So K. Rool tricks him into going surfing. I was a bit confused about how this plan was supposed to work.
Yeah, this required some real 4D chess to actually function.
It required a lot of luck. Just blind luck.
Do you think K. Rool is taking peeks at the crystal coconut about his goofy schemes? Because that is the only way this could have worked.
I was wondering if K. Rool had, like, sabotaged the coconut when the coconut appears later. But then I was like, well, if he could get to the coconut to do that, why wouldn't he just take the coconut? Because that's what he wants, isn't it? It didn't go that way, so I didn't get to have that complaint. But I wanted to have it.
We can still complain about everything else.
We can and will.
On to the next scene.
DK borrows Funky's surfboard, which Funky doesn't want to lend him because it's, I guess, his girlfriend or something.
That's basically what he says. He said, that board's my soulmate. We've bonded.
Yeah.
Which I kind of loved because it's very stupid. And I was like, that's something I would do. Bond deeply with an inanimate object.
I mean, Funky is my favorite Kong. He always has been.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like him as much in this. I don't recognize this Funky as Funky.
This is not canon.
But he's a facsimile, I guess.
A grim facsimile wearing the face of Funky Kong.
No, he's not wearing the face of Funky Kong. That's the worst part about it. He doesn't look anything like Funky Kong. This is
very
just
true.
Another monkey.
Maybe it's just... No, I got nothing. I was trying to come up with a dumb joke, but they were too dumb even for me.
Wow.
I know.
They must have been dumb.
I had to exercise some real restraint.
So usually when one of us exercises restraint about a joke, the other one makes the joke.
Our psychic bond to tell terrible jokes in tandem.
So DK borrows Funky's board, which Funky was reluctant to let him use. And for some reason, DK immediately leaves the board behind when he jumps into the sea.
Yeah, he just decides to go for a swim before going surfing.
Yeah, like you don't have to swim out there with the board anyway.
That's not how surfing works.
So as he's swimming without the board, K. Rool and Crusher steal it. Crusher's just here now.
Yeah, it went on for so long.
I was gonna say, I like Crusher, but every scene he's in is so long because he talks so slowly.
Mm-hmm.
And they also love to give him lines.
That, and they, use Crusher's presence as an excuse to overly explain what's happening.
Yes. So what was it in this scene? He and K. Rool spend a long time talking about the fact that K. Rool thinks he's not very smart or something.
Yeah, first he has to explain the plan to him, and then he essentially calls him dumb, and Crusher gets mad about it.
Steal it!
Stealing? That's bad.
Of course it's bad! We are bad, you lunkhead! Now grab the thing and let's get out of here!
Not till you say sorry for calling me lunkhead.
You're so right. I don't know what came over me. Now grab the board, smarty pants!
It wasn't necessary.
No, it wasn't necessary. Very little that happens with Crusher in this episode. This episode wasn't necessary. I'm going to go
No.
ahead and say that much.
But what would we do without great songs like the second banana song?
Oh, we'll get to it. So DK comes back to tell Funky what happened, and Funky doesn't believe him.
I mean, DK wakes Funky up from a nap to tell him that he's lost his board. And if that happened to me, if somebody woke me up from the dead of sleep to tell me bad news, I don't think I would be able to process it either.
I want to know what Funky thinks happened.
I think he thinks he just lost it or broke it or something.
Or maybe.
Because he says something. He says, "How are you going to be future ruler if you can't even tell the truth when you wipe out?"
Oh, okay, yeah. So he thinks he wiped out and broke the board or lost it at sea, probably.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It doesn't, it doesn't.
It doesn't, it doesn't.
I also found it very strange that all of DK's close personal friends kept bringing up this future ruler thing to rub in his face.
I thought it was funny how immediately his friends abandon him.
Yeah!
But we'll get to that. So DK goes for a walk with Diddy and Dixie in the jungle. This is Dixie's first appearance.
This part is so weird!
There's no fanfare about Dixie's first appearance. Before we get into the weirdness of this, because yes, this is the weirdest scene in an already weird episode. So Dixie first appeared in Donkey Kong Country 2, which came out about a year before this episode aired in France, which means she will have been a new character, like, as they were making the show, her game will have come out, so they will have probably added her in pretty last minute to this.
Mm-hmm.
She looks nothing like Dixie, really.
She looks like a potato had a nightmare.
But they didn't even, they just made up a new outfit for her.
Yeah.
DK and Diddy basically look the same as they do in the games, except for the fact that DK stands up on two legs like a person.
And has the most sculpted ass I've ever seen.
No, that's canon.
In the character notes, DK's ass must be at least this defined.
Yeah, we don't get to see it very often because he's usually facing the camera, but when he's facing away, there's some buns there. Let me tell you. I played a lot of DK64. Let me tell you, when you can see him from behind,
you can see him from behind.
But by the time this episode aired in America, we'd had Dixie for 3 years, and we'd had Kitty for 2 years. So
yeah.
But I think that's probably why Dixie looks so different here, is possibly because they didn't know exactly how she was going to look in the game yet, because the game probably wasn't out while they were modeling her.
They just had to piece together a concept based on grainy pixel art like Mega Man.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe Rare faxed them a black and white scan of the character. And they just extrapolated. Because Dixie in the games wears all pink. And this Dixie is wearing a mishmash of clashing colors. Anyway, Dixie is played by Stevie Valance, who is known for playing Dennis's mom in Dennis the Menace. That's the US Dennis the Menace, not the UK one. She also played Miss Clavel in Madeline. That's the nun.
It has been 1,000 years since I've seen Madeline, and I routinely forget it exists, and every time I rediscover it, it's like a repressed childhood memory coming to the surface.
Same. I only ever used to see Madeline when I was up really early.
Yeah.
Here's one entry in her filmography from our past. She is the singing voice of Sonya in Sonic Underground.
Oh no!
Na 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 na.
No! Stop!
And she also played Mouse in Reboot. Mouse, from the name, you would probably guess was a rodent of some kind. But Mouse was actually this badass warrior woman. She was pretty cool. She was basically the Rouge the Bat of Reboot.
Neat.
The sexy warrior woman.
Is Rouge the Bat a warrior woman?
Yeah, are you kidding me? She's the best fighter of all the female characters in Sonic.
Is that saying much?
She's a spy. Yeah, they can all fight. You seen Amy's hammer?
I have.
Dr. Eggman is afraid of Amy, so oh, we'll get to Sonic X. Then you'll get to see what some of these Sonic characters can do in a show that treats them appropriately.
In a show that states Sonic's bloodlust.
Yeah. Where he's allowed to kill. No. That's for anybody watching this anytime other than summer 2022, there is currently a discourse going on where a bunch of strange people are saying or demanding that Sonic the Hedgehog should be killing his enemies in a cold bloodlust rage, I guess. God, imagine that. Somebody that I follow compared it to all of the discourse you get about like where Batman fans demand that Batman should be killing the Joker, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Except it's Sonic the Hedgehog and the stakes are not that high.
What if it was Mario killing all of his enemies?
That's about on par with what people are asking for, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
People like to think that people like to pretend that Sonic isn't a series aimed at 8 to 12-year-old children.
It's a serious show for serious adults.
I love Sonic the Hedgehog, but you've got to listen. If you're a Sonic fan out there and you want people to take Sonic the Hedgehog seriously, you can do that without making it R-rated.
I feel like that's just a cultural problem in general, where it can't be adult-oriented unless it's R-rated.
Yeah, I think so too. That's why when they were talking about making more animation for adults, I was like, oh yeah, cool. Animated movies that explore some mature themes. And then what we got instead was Sausage Party.
I knew it. I knew that's exactly where that was headed.
Anyway, so Diddy has to leave for some reason.
For no stated reason, out of nowhere. They're having a walk together and Diddy's like, oh, bye.
Yeah. I think he says I've got a split, right? For the banana pun.
I guess, but he doesn't say why.
He also doesn't go anywhere. He just stands there and watches them walk away.
Maybe he had to go, as in pee.
Oh, maybe. And he was going to do it right on that spot. He just had to wait for them to walk out of eyeshot. DK says he's going to continue the walk with his buddy, Dix.
Oh, yep. He sure did call her Dix.
And then Dixie calls Diddy... I wrote this down because I wasn't sure I heard it right, but she repeats it later in the episode, so it was right. She calls Diddy Dids. I guess that's her pet name for him.
Not every name can or should be shortened.
No.
You don't need to have a pet name to have a significant other.
No. Diddy is fine. Dids sounds weird.
Just call him Diddle.
Diddle?
Hey, Diddle Diddle.
No, I hate it. I want you to put that back inside your mouth.
I can't. It's been released. The seal has been broken.
All right, well, there's another new character. Diddley Kong.
Is he dressed like Ned
I
Flanders?
was just going to say he's got a mustache and glasses.
Idly ho, Kongerinos. Does this mean that Meatball Ape is a Kong?
He might be. But then he needs it. Oh, I guess he's just Meaty Kong, huh?
Meaty Kong!
Back suddenly in K. Rool's island, Crusher is practicing his impressions, which he's really good at.
Yeah, it's almost like it's just the regular voice actors coming out of Crush's mouth.
I know, I was impressed. But he can apparently do a pitch-perfect impression of both K. Rool and Donkey Kong.
Why he's been working on this in his free time? Who knows?
Yeah, how did they discover this talent of his?
Maybe they had like an improv night or a fundraiser on Crocodile Isle.
Yeah, maybe. I like to think that he was just practicing them in the bathroom and K. Rool overheard and was like, I can make use of this.
Donkey Kong, what are you doing in here?
Is that me? Me?
I could have sworn I was over here, but I guess I'm over there.
Did you notice? So we're going back to the jungle where DK and Dixie are sitting on a log.
On complete opposite ends.
Yes, there's room for like Chunky Kong in between them. If
At
he
least
existed.
the rest of the Kong family.
Yes, there is. They have left space for Jesus.
Make no mistake, Donkey Kong is not trying to move in on Diddy's girl.
So then Crusher shows up to convince Dixie that Donkey Kong is trying to move in on Diddy's girl.
And even though he's only about 2 feet away from Donkey Kong can't hear it.
He can hear it. Because he, like, whenever the other Donkey Kong voice is talking, DK starts looking around in confusion.
What does he think? It's like escaped out of his mouth? What's happening?
I don't know, because he definitely... Yeah, he can definitely hear Crusher, but he doesn't understand what's happening or why Dixie's angry. He's not saying, like, I didn't say that and looking for who said it. He's just confused.
Yeah, it's very strange.
But yes, Crusher does a DK impression and uses it to make it sound like he's hitting on Dixie. Very uncomfortable because she is clearly a small child.
Yeah.
It's hard to listen to, even though we know it's not really happening.
Yeah, but he says some creepy things.
He sure does say some extremely creepy things.
Hey, what about you, Dixie? Little Dixie Doodle, you are fine.
It now feels like the Kremlings are trying to frame Donkey Kong for something much worse.
I mean, that would be a pretty surefire way to end all of his relationships.
I don't think, based on, recent events, I don't think it would be enough to get him removed from royalty, but...
Listen, this isn't the UK. Kongo Bongo has standards.
Yeah, that's true. Or not, because nobody's that mad about him. Everybody's only mad about the fact that he was hitting on Diddy's girlfriend, not the fact that he was hitting on a child. Yeah.
If that child were single, that'd be different.
Listen, there's no age of consent on Kongo Bongo Island. I can't.
How long do apes live?
I guess probably not that long if Cranky is the Donkey Kong that fought Mario. And the Donkey Kong we have now hadn't even been born yet at the time of the original Donkey Kong. How much has Mario aged since Donkey Kong?
I think Mario's had a lot of work done. There's no shame in getting work done.
There's a lot of side effects to the power-ups he collects. He's aging backwards at this point.
He has been a baby a few times.
Yeah, back and forth, yeah. He's raced carts against his baby self. Maybe he just exists outside of time now.
I think Mario might be a demigod.
That would explain a lot. Mario is the Hercules of Mushroom Kingdom mythology.
I love it.
The 120 Trials of Mario. That's how they refer to Mario 64 in their mythology.
That's just the name of the final complete collection of the Mario games.
Now we're back at DK's treehouse, where he's just staring at himself in the mirror.
Diddy is reaming him out.
Yeah, Diddy's furious that he hit on Dixie, and then he's furious when he says that he doesn't want Dixie. So there's no winning here for DK.
You're right, little buddy. I did hit on your hot-ass child girlfriend. Then maybe he wouldn't get so mad.
I'm still not convinced. Remember when we talked about the show before, we talked about the possibility that Diddy is actually a stunted adult gorilla. Yes. And I'm still fairly convinced that he's actually in love with DK, as we thought last time. I think Dixie's his beard.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And this is where the Kremlings show up with their claptrap guns again.
This part was so stupid.
And they shoot Cranky's hut again, reusing the same exact footage from episode 1.
Yes. So they go to Cranky's lab while Cranky is asleep so that they can wreck up the place and frame DK. And despite the fact that it shows beakers and all kinds of fragile science material everywhere, all they do is eat the roof.
Yeah, like they did in episode 1.
Yeah. It's like, what? This is not how you wreck up a lab.
It was just so they could reuse the footage of them eating the roof again. Maybe his roof gets ate every episode. I don't know.
Maybe.
maybe that's Cranky's main shtick.
His claim to fame.
Yeah, his roof got ate.
And he believes it's DK solely because there's a banana peel left at the scene of the crime.
Yes. It was so funny to me. Like, is Donkey Kong the only one who eats bananas on this banana-themed island?
I think so.
Because any sighting of a banana automatically means that DK was involved. Even though in the background of this shot, we can see bananas in the architecture of Cranky's house.
Listen, he just appreciates their aesthetic. He doesn't eat them.
Nobody knew they were edible until DK was born.
And by then, they had such a relationship with them, it was almost...
They had such a refined palate that nobody else could eat bananas.
I was just going to say it's like a sin. Like the banana status.
It's like going to India and eating a beef burger.
Yeah.
I see. So DK's sacrilegious is what I'm hearing.
Yes. DK is laughing in the face of Banana God.
This is where Cranky calls DK over to chew him out for chewing out his... Like, what is he? He thinks Donkey Kong ate the roof of his house?
I don't know.
Anyway, he calls DK over to yell at him. I can't remember. DK, like, brings up the fact that he's the future ruler, and then Cranky's like, oh, let's check the coconut then, shall we? And they open up the coconut globe. And the coconut has Diddy's face in it.
Mm-hmm.
I laughed so hard. But see, we learn later that Cranky's the one who put Diddy's face in the coconut, because...
It's very unclear what happened.
That's something that can happen, apparently. But at this point, I didn't know that. So, my note here says, even the coconut is mad at DK, I guess.
Yeah, like, why would he be an unfit ruler just because a couple people are mad at him?
Yeah, why would he be an unfit ruler just because he ate someone's roof?
Because as we later find out, he is the only one on Kongo Bongo capable of fighting K. Rool.
Yeah. But because of the... I don't even think it's like because it's the last straw, because I don't think Cranky knows all the other stuff that happened.
That's what I thought too! Like, Cranky, how does he know about all of this? He just exiles him to the White Mountains because he thinks DK ate his roof.
Yep. Yep, and Funky is assigned to dump him up there in his plane. Nobody
and he's
cares.
more than happy to do it.
Everybody's perfectly fine with the idea of this friend of theirs just being exiled to the barren wastes of the White Mountains.
To freeze to death if he doesn't starve first.
Yeah, Cranky gives him a suitcase. That's it. His friends are awful. These are bad friends.
Yeah. Everyone on Kongo Bongo sucks.
I think it's saying something that I don't like this version of Donkey Kong, but he's the most likable character in this show.
Absolutely.
Because, and I feel like this was true of the first episode as well, DK spends the whole episode just having horrible things happen to him, but he never gets mad. He's always just like, oh, okay then.
Yeah, he feels like he either deserves it or it's somehow his fault. This ape has been abused in his life.
Yep. Yeah, he never... Yeah, I don't think he ever even says it's not his fault, does it? He's always just confused about it. Whenever anybody's telling him he's done something terrible, he never argues with them.
He does. He argues with Cranky because
does he?
He pulls up the banana peel. He's like, look, there's a half-eaten banana. How was this me? If it was, there would be no banana left.
That's true, and it's also a good point.
But nobody listens.
Nobody cares. They want him gone. This is the excuse they've been looking for.
This was less K. Rool's plan than it was everyone.
And now we get a song as DK lies on his back in the snow.
Freezing to death.
Yeah, he just gets dumped there, literally dumped there.
Yeah, Funky Kong does a barrel roll and DK falls out into the mountaintop.
And then he just lays there on his back in the snow singing. I'll play the song here. It's called Nobody's Hero, I assume. It's not that bad a song.
No, the guy's got some pipes.
It's pretty dull, but it's very short.
Yeah, it's a tolerable song. Yeah. I didn't hate it.
No. This one.
Oh, we'll get to the next one.
K. Rool is going to raid Bluster Barrel Works and fill their barrel stores with exploding barrels.
Which never comes close to pass, and I'm very confused about it.
No, yeah, I was very curious to find out the reason for him doing that, which we unfortunately don't get to see.
No.
Because I think because Clump suggests that they should just go after the coconut instead, but K. Rool implies this is just phase 1 of a larger plan that we never get to hear phase 2 of. Or any further phases.
No.
But what I thought was wild here is that as they're making this plan inside K. Rool's base...
Oh my god, yes.
Cranky is just watching it all unfold on the coconut.
Cranky can see into the base. He can see everything that's happening. He should be omniscient.
So he should know that DK didn't eat his roof.
Right. He should always be one step ahead of K. Rool.
Yeah. The ceasefire plot, by the way, is out the window by this point. I want to make it clear that the ceasefire is never mentioned again after like minute 5 of this episode.
Right.
So as Cranky is watching and finding out that K. Rool is about to attack, he tells us that he's the one who put Diddy's face in the coconut because he was angry.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess he really did banish him into the mountains forever because he was a bit grumpy.
Yeah, it's a bit of an overreaction.
And then he says,
I think I might have been a little hard on DK.
and I was like, yeah? Banishing him forever? Yeah, maybe a little hard.
But come on, we've all been in a mood like that. There've been a couple times I've thought about banishing you to the White Mountains just because I was a little grumpy that day.
I know.
It's got nothing to do with you. It's just because I got a bee in my bonnet.
Joke's on you because I love the White Mountains.
Joke's on you, I put the bee there!
Stop putting my bees in your bonnet. I need those.
I just like the way it sounds when they're that close to my head.
It drowns out the voices. Now we cut to Diddy and Dixie having some foreplay in the woods.
Yeah, it was weird.
I'm so glad that they were cut off before they started making out. I did not need to see that.
Ew, can you imagine those two faces mashing together?
I mean, no, and I'm sure the animators couldn't either, which is probably why they get interrupted. I don't think we're ever going to see an actual kiss in the Donkey Kong Country TV show. I think they'll always be interrupted. This is not the first kiss we've seen interrupted in this show. And I'm sure it won't be the last.
I already don't remember the first episode. I've tried very hard to get it out of my brain.
Well, we got a Donkey Kong POV shot as Candy's face came towards him puckered up.
Oh, that's right.
And it haunts my nightmares. Anyway, Cranky interrupts them in his ghostly form.
My note says Dixie is bigging up loser Diddy and Cranky screaming hologram cock blocks him.
Yep, that's accurate. So Cranky tells Diddy that he has to go fight K. Rool as the future leader of Kongo Bongo Island. And Diddy immediately realizes that he didn't want this job after all.
Which you would think he would have an idea of, since he's been Donkey Kong's right-hand man for 100 years.
Yes, you would think he would have considered the fact that DK's main purpose is to fight King K. Rool.
Right, is to put his life on the line.
Yeah, but now he has to do it and he doesn't want to, so he sings the worst song I've ever heard in my life.
It's pretty terrible.
I wrote in my notes at this point that I hope he dies. And then the rest of my notes for this section are just my ears over and over again in increasing capital letters and boldness and...
What do you expect from someone who has never ever been the king before? Never had to save the day, now I've no idea what's in store. Sack and banana's what I am. I never thought this job would be full of so much misery. Sack and banana's what I know. I'm just not cut out to be the hero. Maybe it's a twist of fate, but I can never recreate the ape he was. I'm the Tootie to his fruity and the peach to his fuzz. Sack and banana's what I am. We make such a perfect team. Now I'm all alone, it seems. Sack and banana's all I know. I'm just not cut out to be the hero. The hero, the hero, the hero, the hero, the hero.
Dixie does not. I keep calling him Dixie. They're the same thing. Diddy does not have a voice that's good to listen to, and it is especially not good to listen to when he's singing.
No, and it sounds like he's singing like an octave outside of his range as well.
Yeah,
It's bad. It's awful.
it sucked.
I'm sorry that you all just had to hear it, audience, because I definitely played it just now.
We want your ears to be bleeding just like ours.
Yes, I accept no responsibility for any damage to the ears or psyche caused by Diddy Kong's song, which I didn't even write down a title for. To be honest, I couldn't even understand half the lyrics.
Yeah, it wasn't super. I just wasn't listening. I hated it. It was a bad time.
I guess I'll find out when I'm editing this episode, but I'm not sure if this song was longer than the other one, but it sure felt twice as long. So once that song is over, we go to Bluster sexually harassing Candy in the workplace again.
As usual.
It seems to be his job.
Hello, sweet Candy. Now that DK is out of the picture, how about a date?
Forget it, Bluster.
That's his MO.
She's the one who makes the barrels, and he's the one who sexually harasses his employees. Or employee, since she seems to be the only one.
He hired her exclusively so he could sexually harass her.
Yeah, well, that's his title. What's he gonna do? He's a professional sex pest.
It's on his business card.
Yeah, when she took the job, it was in the want ads page of the newspaper under the heading "Victim Wanted."
I was gonna say the same thing.
So Clump shows up and attacks the barrel works.
Well, that's putting it very generously.
Well, he shows up. They've got the claptrap guns again, and the claptraps eat all the barrels.
They eat some of the barrels.
Oh, they eat some of the barrels. I'm confused about the plan once again, because the plan was to replace the barrels with exploding barrels. But they're doing this in front of the only two employees of the barrel works, and I feel like they might notice.
I don't understand how they're going to replace all the barrels with exploding barrels when there are no more barrels left.
Yeah, they ate them all.
Yeah, that was the first thing they did.
Diddy shows up. Nobody cares.
Yeah, they just shoot him with a gun.
Yeah, and then he's got claptraps all over his feet. It bothers me that claptraps are they're like fleas in this show.
Yeah.
In the games, they're like dog-sized crocodiles. And in this show, they're like fleas. Why?
I don't know.
It's so weird. So Cranky, realizing that this is a waste of time... Or no, I think Diddy screams at him to get Donkey Kong, right?
Let's see. My notes say Cranky screaming hologram appears just to say he knew this would happen.
Yeah. And Diddy screams back for him to go get DK. Meanwhile, Donkey Kong, left alone for 5 minutes, is falling to his death.
Yeah, because he's seeing mirages in the snow.
I just love that we come back to him. He literally pulls himself out of the snow where he landed and immediately runs off a cliff because he thinks he saw some bananas.
Left alone for 5 minutes, as you said.
Yeah. But Cranky appears. Cranky's screaming ghost appears again.
Yeah, the limitless screaming hologram of Cranky Kong.
Because it's like grey and it's quite dark tones, it always reminds me of Wrinkly Kong's ghost from Donkey Kong 64.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder if Wrinkly Kong's ghost was made grey in a reference to this.
That feels incorrect.
Well, I don't know. That same game has the crystal coconut in it. Don't forget. Don't remember.
I don't want to remember, but you've reminded me.
Don't remember is probably more apt. And we come back to Candy, who indignantly says,
Isn't someone gonna save us?
and it's really funny to me because it's not said with fear. It's said with annoyance.
Yeah.
She's just pissed that nobody's saving them.
We did miss one of my favorite parts of the episode where Donkey Kong is saying that he can't go save anyone because he hasn't eaten any bananas all day. And Cranky just tells him to look in the suitcase, which is full of bananas.
That's right. I do have notes about this, but I completely skipped them. Yes, DK didn't think to look inside the suitcase he was given. He's been carrying it this whole time.
It's the only thing he has in his possession.
He doesn't know what's in it, and he hasn't checked yet. It's full of bananas.
Yeah, what did he think it was full of? The clothes he doesn't wear?
Do bananas give him the power to fly?
Yes, because he is no longer on the White Mountains.
That's the thing I was thinking, because Funky had to fly him there, but he just appears, once he's had his bananas, he just appears back at the Barrel Works.
Mm-hmm.
So he can either fly or teleport when he's had his bananas, I guess.
I'm going with teleport.
Yeah. DK growls very lightly at Clump, and all the Kremlings run away, ending all conflict in the episode. We don't even see K. Rool again.
No! That was the most confusing. I could not believe this was the end of the episode.
It's so sudden and anticlimactic. It's just, oh, now it's over.
Literally all he does is say boo and he scares away the enemy and that's it.
And that's it. There's no further anything.
No. There's no resolution. There's nothing.
Yeah, DK starts eating some bananas. Diddy warns him that that's what got him into trouble to start with, which it isn't.
And we see DK's face back in the coconut.
Oh, yeah, yep.
And Cranky Kong says,
"It's not pretty, but it's right."
And then DK says,
"You can take the ape out of the jungle, but you can't take the jungle out of the ape."
A phrase which is
so
completely
confused.
Meaningless in this context.
It means nothing, and I hated it.
Yeah, I don't know what they were trying to say with that. I think it was just like, this is a thing that people say.
Right.
Let's end the episode with it.
This is the moral of the story about friendship.
They did take the ape out of the jungle, but the rest of the phrase doesn't apply. I don't think there was any showing that the jungle was still in the ape.
No.
He found those bananas in a suitcase.
That a screaming hologram left him with.
I don't know. I don't think it's even accurate to say that there's a jungle in this show, really.
There's some trees.
Yeah. It's more like a copse.
It's a beach with some scattered trees.
And that's the end. That's how the episode ends.
That's how the greatest episode of the greatest show ever ends.
How introduced do you feel to Dixie Kong?
On a scale of not very to quite, I would say not very.
Okay. Well, we heard her name at least. Well, wait, did they ever say her full name or did they just call her Dix?
I think they called her Dixie.
Yeah, okay. Let's hope so. I don't know if there are like other episodes where she has a bigger part. The thing with Dixie is it feels like she was included in here as a very last minute afterthought because there was a new game that she was in.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel like they really had much of a plan for her, and I don't know if that ever really changes. So Dixie's not in the games very much.
No.
In general. And when she does, when she is in the games, she isn't generally related in any way to Donkey Kong, who is the star of this show. So I can't speak for Tropical Freeze because I know she's in Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze and I haven't played that one. So maybe they've done more to integrate her with Donkey Kong himself there. But anytime Dixie appears, it's usually in a game that Donkey Kong isn't in. He's not in Donkey Kong Country 2 until the very end because he's been kidnapped. And so Dixie is just there alongside Diddy as Donkey Kong's replacement, I guess.
Yeah.
And then they did this a lot with the Donkey Kong Country games, and then there's like a shifting hierarchy. So like the first game is Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong. Then the next game, Donkey Kong is taken away. Diddy Kong moves up to Donkey Kong's slot, much like he did in this episode. And Dixie is added to fill Diddy Kong's slot.
Yeah.
And then the game after that, Dixie moves up and Kiddy Kong comes in.
But Kiddy Kong never becomes Kong.
No, Kiddy Kong, I don't think Kiddy Kong ever appeared again. I don't know how successful Donkey Kong Country 3 was, but I don't think they ever used Kiddy Kong again in anything.
No. I think they took him to the glue factory.
Monkey paste. Wait, oh no, wait, that's where Gorilla Glue comes from.
Cut that part out. Put in the funnier joke. Don't let them see you stumble.
No, they can see it. If they watch me stream, they see me stumble constantly. So yeah, that's I do feel like it would have been a struggle including Dixie in this at the time, because really all she was Diddy Kong's girlfriend, and there's no other information about how she relates to or reacts to any other Kong.
Right. But like that gives you the most freedom.
Yeah, you would think. So I don't know, maybe later episodes do something like that. I would think, I mean, you know, if I were writing a Donkey Kong Country show, I would think it's a no-brainer that you put Dixie with Candy. You make Dixie Candy's Diddy Kong.
Yeah. Give her something to do.
Yeah. But then again, they haven't figured out what even they want Candy to do other than yell at her boyfriend. So like that's her entire personality, mad at her boyfriend.
I sent you a GIF.
Yes, I actually had a note about that. So Mel has sent me a GIF of Dixie Kong's reaction to DK's flirting, which wasn't his, I guess. But her pupils are insane throughout the episode.
Yes.
Her pupils grow and shrink and change size and warp. Like, seemingly at random almost.
I think they're sentient and separate from the rest of her.
Her pupils are like Fergie Fudgehog's entire face. For their erratic nature.
Yes. I also like how when any of the Kongs get angry, instead of like an eyebrow lowering, it's just their pupils turn into little slits.
Yeah. They would lowering their eyebrows would involve a lot of facial meshes that they didn't have access to at the time. Except that they did have access to them and they used them on the mouth. So, I don't know.
We hadn't discovered eyebrows yet. This episode was a lot like Hametsu no Mars in that it went by so quickly I almost couldn't believe it was over because nothing happened.
Yeah, but we did get to see Dixie Kong. And that's really
For
what we
better
were here
or
for.
for worse.
In sickness and in sickness.
In sickness and in death. Till death do we die.
Okay, let's talk about the legacy of this episode, shall we?
This specific episode had a legacy?
Well, this show's depiction of Dixie Kong, anyway. Because I have no basis for this other than the observations of my own eyeballs. But I think that Tiny Kong may have, at least in her original incarnation, because she looks very different now.
Yeah.
I think she may have been a reference to this version of Dixie Kong.
Why do you think that?
Because they had the same coloring. And they both had a giant daisy on their chest.
Oh, maybe.
The daisy specific, if it was just the colors, I'd be saying, no, that's So I think when they slapped that daisy on Tiny Kong, they were making a reference to this Dixie Kong design. And it was Donkey Kong 64, which also had the crystal coconuts. So I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility.
It could be. You might be onto something crazy.
I had thought, and I couldn't find anything to back this up, but I'm sure I remember hearing at some point that at one point in development, Tiny Kong was Dixie Kong, but they ended up changing her design a bit and giving her a different name when they added the ability to shrink, because they were like, this isn't Dixie Kong anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I couldn't find anything to back that up, and it's been a long time since I heard it, so I don't know if it was true. It might have just been a rumor that was going around. So take that with a sack of salt until someone from Rare confirms or denies it. But if she was at some point supposed to be Dixie Kong, that would also, maybe they were going to change Dixie Kong's design to be more like the show one. I hope not.
Yeah, that would be a mistake.
Because I believe Tiny is supposed to be Dixie's sister.
Older sister?
I think she was younger sister originally, but has probably been retconned to older sister now.
Yeah.
Because now she's that was a weird design change, huh?
Sure was.
I actually, in part of the research for this, I did do a little bit of reading about that, and from what I could tell, because that new design of Tiny Kong first appeared in the Diddy Kong Racing DS remake, which was made by Rare, but it sounds like it was Nintendo who asked for her to be redesigned.
Why?
Nobody knows for sure. It seems like the most likely sounding speculation is that it was because she was replacing Banjo in the game, and Banjo's a heavy character, so they wanted her to look heavier.
She doesn't.
She doesn't. Well, she looks heavier than she would have if she was a small baby monkey.
Yeah, but I wouldn't at all say that she looks heavy.
No, she's just tall.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's tall and skinny. But it's the same as because Rosalina is a heavy character in Mario Kart.
Yeah, I always forget that.
Yeah, and it's because she's tall. I always forget how tall she is, but she's considerably taller than Peach. And I guess Nintendo just considers tall women to be heavy.
On average, yeah, they're going to be a little bit heavier than a shorter counterpart,
but it does feel weird to lump her into a category with Wario and Bowser, huh?
It sure does.
Because I don't think Waluigi is a heavy character.
What?
Yeah, I could be wrong about that. But he's probably the tallest character, and I don't think he's classed as heavy.
Weird.
It is weird. But, I mean, I think the real reasoning for it, in Rosalina's case, is just that they wanted a female choice.
Yeah,
for
a heavy
people who wanted,
choice.
yeah, and that was just the best option they had.
She's tall. That's the same thing.
Well, thanks for joining us, everybody.
I guess.
If you'd like to support our show with monetary supplements, you can find us at patreon.com/superbreakfastfriendsclub, where you'll get some bonus content, like the 5 minutes of conversation I just cut.
You're gonna make them pay for that quality gold? They should. They absolutely should.
Well, it wasn't relevant to Donkey Kong Country.
I don't see how it was not.
We can't sit here rating the attractiveness of the Mario princesses in a Donkey Kong Country episode.
We can't talk about our future as ghosts.
We can't, no. They can't know about our journeys through space and time. Unless you want to go ahead and become a patron.
Unless you want to put a couple bucks in our pocket.
If you don't want to do a recurring payment, because who does, right? Except for, unless you do, then please do. You can find us at coffee.com/superbreakfastfriendsclub. And just give us a couple bucks when you feel like it. We'll appreciate it all the same.
Throw some loose change in there. We'll do something with it.
Can't promise it'll be smart, but we'll try.
But something will be done.
Eventually, Mel will get a real microphone.
Listen, now you're talking crazy.
What else? I stream on Twitch at Skull Pirate Mike. And sometimes I do things related to this show. But I don't promise it.
It's a lofty goal these days.
What is that sound?
That is a great question. I thought I was the only one hearing it.
Is it gone now?
Yeah.
Sound like a tiny helicopter.
It sounded like a bee in your bonnet.
Are there any other things that we're supposed to tell them about?
What about your Twitter?
Oh yeah! You can find the Twitter for this show at sbreakfastfc. Because the full name wouldn't fit.
That is the subtitle of Twitter.
This is the curse I have for finding unnecessarily long names funny.
I mean, it's a flawless joke.
Yeah. And I only get to use it when it's about video games.
Yeah, well, we'll find other reasons. We'll make some up if we have to.
Bye!
Bye.
Oh, we both said bye.
Edit one of them out. Put the other one on the Patreon.